I'm struck in my interaction with deans, senior staff, students and alumni as they reflect on their business school experience, the extraordinary convening power of the world's top business schools, whether it's guest speakers, influential alumni, but just this ability to bring together wonderful role models, share their experience and how we can all learn from that. But I'm going to give a plug for Centre Court too, because I think that we have extraordinary convening power, and that is reflected in this panel. It's my pleasure to introduce Harrison Reeves. Harrison is the director at EY Parthenon. He was on Poets and Quants MBA to watch list just a few years ago, sharing the fact that he's visited both the highest and the lowest places on earth. He can share the highs and lows of the MBA, but I'm sure particularly the highs, because he graduated from Goizueta, having studied undergrad in econ and a very intriguing course on peace, war and defense. Very active in the Goizueta community during his time there as the president of the Graduate Business Association with a focus on sustainability, and obviously enjoying a very successful career now with EY Parthenon. He's joined by Paige Brown. Paige is an MBA from Georgia Tech. Her BBA was also around, undergrad was also around business, and then built a very successful career working in compliance, private wealth management. Since graduating from Georgia Tech, she's enjoying a wonderful career with Accenture, and we're delighted to have you with us. And finally, Dr. Catherine Duggan. Catherine has a remarkable academic background, studying poli-sci at Brown and then doing her PhD at Stanford in the same field. She was an assistant professor at the Harvard Business School for 8 years, and during some of that time a visiting scholar at the Said Business School at Oxford University. She then took up a leadership position at ALU Business School in Rwanda, but for the last 2.5 years has been the dean, director, whatever you put on your business card, Catherine, at the Graduate School of Business of the University of Cape Town. Now, UCT is one of only 3 triple accredited business schools in sub-Saharan Africa, and it is the only business school from the continent that regularly features in the global MBA ranking of the FT. So how about that for convening power? It's lovely to have all 3 of you with us. Now, we've put a title to this session together about the MBA and personal development. All 3 of you are enjoying wonderful professional success and development, and I'm sure that will find its place here. But it was the chance perhaps to look at some of the more intangible aspects of the MBA. And Harrison, if we can start with you, lots of concrete business skills that you developed, but what did you learn about yourself during your 2 years at Goizueta?
Oh, man, that's a great question. I think really just being in a position to take ownership of my career. And prior to business school, I felt like my career path really dictated my life and didn't really have a clear path previous to business school. And then in business school, really felt empowered to take risks and to really develop some leadership experiences or leadership skills, and went on a risk by positioning myself to run for graduate business school president, and really in that role really found a lot of who I am and what I want to do in my professional career. And so was a great opportunity and experience for that.
Well, whether it's risk-taking, climbing the highs or the lows, there's a lot of self-awareness, even starting with the application to business school, holding up this mirror. Is that something you were very conscious of in terms of what you learned about yourself?
Oh, absolutely. I realize I guess in my career path, I started out in the public sector working on Capitol Hill, leaning into the peace, war, and defense curriculum that I had in undergrad, and realized that wasn't it. And when I started, I knew I wanted to do private sector and move to a automotive franchise company, but knew I didn't want to do franchising or automotive for a while. And really needed to take a step back and be introspective and think, what do I want to do with my career moving forward? And so absolutely, it was really having the chance to take that step back and say, where do I see myself going next, and where can I really have an impact and take control of my professional career. So yeah, it absolutely began with the application process.
Right. Paige, since joining Accenture, you've been promoted 2 or 3 times. You're now at the senior manager level. No doubt business skills, technical skills that have also contributed to that. But is there a sense of self-confidence with the intensity of the MBA and what you're learning about yourself?
Absolutely. I think if I reflect back on my time at Georgia Tech, I think a big motivator, opportunity to develop that self-confidence was, and Harrison, I like how you put it, as the ability to take risks. So if I reflect back, you had the opportunities within your coursework, opportunities within extracurriculars like club activities that the school provides, and then just general networking opportunities. All 3 of which I think give you the opportunity to develop that self-confidence, to really learn what are my strengths, like where do I excel, and what's my leadership style, whether that's coursework of delivering a project with your team, deciding to run to be the president of a club and gaining leadership experience that way, or in networking and just learning, who do I click with, where do I click, what opportunities really fit what I'm looking for post MBA best. And I think what I learned personally through the MBA program in terms of understanding my personal strengths was that ability to make connections, build relationships, which really going into the program, I wouldn't have called out as a strength. It really took those 2 years to realize, hey, this doesn't come as naturally to others as it does to me. And that's a key indicator that maybe this is one of my bigger strengths and something I should have confidence in. And I think that's served me well post MBA in a consulting career as I continue to build relationships with clients and on my teams to continue to progress at Accenture. But I'm thankful to the opportunities to take those risks and really learn throughout the MBA program.
So as we think back to Paige on her first day at Scheller and your MBA program, yeah. And where you are today, was there a clear path, or is it just approach this with curiosity and explore?
I think definitely the latter, coming in with an open mind. I knew, having a background in compliance, I specifically decided to go back to pursue my MBA to get into something more strategic, something that wasn't so black and white. But beyond that, I didn't really know what field it would be in. My internship was actually in brand management, so I thought perhaps a career in marketing would be appealing post MBA. It was really through that internship experience, the project that I worked on, as well as talking with some alumni from Scheller MBA, where I really learned about a career in strategy consulting and perhaps the opportunities that would afford me and allow me to continue to build that skill set of more strategic thinking, dealing with ambiguity, really moving as far away as I can from that black and white compliance background that I was familiar with pre-MBA.
Right. Catherine, there you were at the front of the HBS classroom, and now with your colleagues, welcoming top talent to UCT. We'll be able to talk about, again, some of the business skills and more technical skills, but this area of personal development, is it something that's really foremost in your mind as you think of the sort of MBA experience that you're looking to share with your students?
Yes, I have to say the reason that I came to Africa is I think you can really have more of an impact here than anywhere in the world. And when I reflect back on, and look, HBS, all of these schools are terrific and terrific in different ways. And I think the key thing is to match what you're looking for with the school that's right for you. And I think that's what we're hearing from both Allison and Paige, this degree to which all of these schools allow you to take risks, and students looking to do various things can really match what they're looking to do with the school that serves them best. So for example, for me, I'm really interested in complex environments, in impact and sustainability. And that's what we do at the Cape Town GSB. So for example, when we talk about building self-confidence, when we talk about having impact, Last year, our MBA students wrote a final exam, which was a brief to the president of Zambia, and then they delivered it to the special advisor to the president of Zambia. And that is a level of impact, it's a level of sort of engagement that's really hard to have outside an MBA program. It gives you a level of self-confidence too, and it teaches you how to interact with people, how to work in groups, but also how to think about things from a perspective that you've never thought about before. And I think when we talk to alumni, including alumni who are just a few years out of the program and alumni who are 25 or 30 years out of the program, no matter what business school you went to, the things that they really talk about are the leadership skills, the opportunities to take risk, the opportunities to really put themselves outside of their comfort zone, and particularly the diversity in the classroom. So I think that in many cases, the MBA classroom is the most diverse experience that many people will ever have. You'll have people from all over the world. In some cases, you'll be in a country, which is a new country to you, and you'll have people from all different backgrounds. And making the most of that diversity, understanding how to leverage that diversity to help you grow as a leader, as well as to help you grow as a person, and then to wrap all that up and to think about the impact that you will bring forward. I think that's the greatest gift that an MBA program can give you. And that's also what students who really use these programs well can get out of them.
Right. Now, of course, that age-old question about whether you can teach leadership. Do you have leadership courses, Catherine, or is it this combination of experiences and how all of that comes together to build the sort of confidence that Harrison and Paige were describing?
No, we have a whole leadership series of courses, actually. So we have a course which is focused on leading self, and which is really, it's a pace-setting course globally in which the students sit down and they really do a lot of reflection. It's a tough course, I'm not going to lie. It's often very hard to do that kind of work, to turn that mirror inward and look at yourself as a leader. But when I talk to our alumni, it doesn't matter when they graduated, that's one of the first courses they talk about. And then we focus on leading organizations, and then we're really focused on leading in complex environments. One of the things that's amazing about South Africa is we are actually one of the most diverse countries in the world, and our companies have about 30 years of experience thinking about diversity, thinking about managing in diverse environments, but also thinking about what diversity means, and again, impact means as a leader. And so we pull that all the way through all of our classes, but with these specific courses on leading self, on leading others in complex environments, leading, managing and leading, and then thinking about that in an overarching way, again, bringing it together to think about what this means for an individual and an organization's impact.
Right. Harrison, you now have a leadership role, but as you think back to the applicant to GOIZEDA, was leadership foremost in your mind? I mean, I always think of the Calvin and Hobbes cartoon where he's running around saying, I want to be the leader, I want to be the leader. And then says, okay, now I'm the leader, what do we do? Is it something foremost in your mind?
No, absolutely. And before business school, I really cherished and enjoyed the community engagement that I did when I was in Charlotte, North Carolina, and really started some clubs for learning about art. People our age group don't really engage with the arts that much. And so started a club and engaged peers kind of with a pretty unique channel here. And that leadership experience before business school, I realized is something that I really looked forward to more than I did my day job. and so when going to business school, that was absolutely something that I knew I wanted to fine tune and develop, is how to really look at those leadership skills and find areas to fill voids and really champion interests or causes that aren't really being addressed, and promote them. And really, I think the skills developed and practiced through GOIZEDA were really helpful to do that.
Well, you talked about the enjoyment when it was something you're passionate about, whether it's art, but sustainability is something else that you're very invested in. And so GOIZEDA was the opportunity then to explore and look at opportunities in that space.
Yep, no, absolutely. And I really had my awakening in business school. I don't have a technical or a traditional sustainability background, but I noticed just at Goizueta, our student events caused a ton of waste in plastic cups and paper plates. And Emory has a really a great sustainability office for the overall campus, but the business school had some problems that I saw in the way that we ran our programs. And so used the platform as the class president to really champion zero waste efforts. And I realized there, and this was before ESG became a top of mind consideration for C-suites or for society. And it was budding, but was able to use that experience to say ESG doesn't have to be rocket science. You don't have to be the engineer or technical expert to drive sustainable change. It is identifying a problem, coming up with a creative solution, and messaging it well to deliver the results that you need. And so, again, that really started with a realization in business school and has been something I've carried through in my career at EY Parthenon.
And it was great to see then how you got funding from the school to support the venture.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to think that beyond sweatshirts and pens and other things with the school logo, the stainless steel cups that you introduced could become part of the identity of the school. Paige, my question to you: I wish that I could make it gender neutral, but I'm not sure that I can. One of the top schools launched a new course that talked about it was titled about leading in a multinational corporation, and they thought that this would be a very, very popular course. And after a week or two of having announced it, they saw that 92% of those that had signed up for the course were men. And so they went to, they have a fairly gender balanced program. They went to women on the program and said, wasn't this interesting? And they said, well, this word leadership, it just put me off. Is that something business schools need to be aware of? Or can it be gender neutral, and the sort of skills that you're developing are just innate to you and you'll be able to deploy them in your career?
I think it's definitely gender neutral. If I, reflect back on the opportunities I was given during my time in MBA program, one of the main formulating opportunities was being able to lead the Women in Business Club. And that's exactly the type of things we would look at of what, you hear these studies of women maybe being hesitant to speak up or to take that leadership opportunity. And so we used that time in the club to really bring in key speakers to dive deeper into why that is. How can we kind of break this curve, break this mold, hear from corporate leaders who were women, or bring in men to understand what they were doing within their corporations to help, put women, all genders, all backgrounds, all cultures in positions where they could excel in leadership. I think, any MBA program is going to do a great job of really helping you identify your leadership style. And I think that goes a long way to recognize that it's not a one size fits all approach to being a leader, that everybody has their own specific custom leadership style that will put them in, whatever position that leadership style fits best with. But identifying, what it is about your style that makes people want to follow you and want to lead you, that will help you succeed the most.
Right. And now, 4.5 years with Accenture and in a leadership role, do you still reflect back on, skills that you were developing or learning at Scheller and how you're using them?
Absolutely. I think, Scheller's unique in that, as you can imagine, being part of Georgia Tech, there's a lot of students that are also pursuing graduate degrees in engineering, computer science, data science. And so having exposure to a lot of people with that background in my day-to-day coursework and on project teams, I think gave me a leg up when I then joined Accenture, who is also a very technology-focused, technology-first firm, in terms of understanding that language, the way those people's brains work and the backgrounds that they have to our project work with clients. And I think just reflecting back on not only the different backgrounds of the teammates I was working with, or professional backgrounds, but also the cultural backgrounds, the global perspective that you get through an MBA program of working with people from all across the globe. to just really round out your experience as you go into the corporate world.
And those cultural backgrounds, Catherine, from what you were describing, South Africa is one of the world's most diverse nations, the rainbow nation, as Mandela framed it. How does that also then fit when you're thinking about working in teams and adapting to different cultural styles? Is that something you're very mindful of in the MBA classroom?
Yes, it's critically important. It is a critically important element of the learning, and it's part of the learning that can't happen in the classroom. So the really getting through the program in your team, wrestling with some of the issues that come up in groups, doing a lot of team-based work is really important. And it's something that I can't teach you, but that you'll take out of it. And one of the things that employers say more than anything else is when they're looking for people, they're really looking for people who are able to lead high-performing teams. And we have a number of things that we've built into the program, which are explicitly designed to help people learn how to lead high-performing teams, but also think about what to do when you're in a challenging situation. And I think that's one of the hardest things. We can all manage teams when things are going well. It's what to do when you're faced with challenges, either within the team or when the team itself is faced with challenges. And I'll just say as well, one of the things that's really important is seeing all of the kinds of work that you can do. So Paige was talking, and Harrison, both of them were talking about impact. They were talking about the ways in which MBAs and MBAs working in teams can make a difference. And I think that one of the nice things about good MBA programs is they really put you into a lot of different scenarios, but also a lot of different environments. So for example, we have an entrepreneurial ecosystem. Our main campus is on the waterfront, which is beautiful, and it's in one of the most beautiful areas of Cape Town. But we recognize that that's not the only thing in Cape Town or in the world. And so we also have a facility which is actually in one of the townships in Cape Town. And so our MBA teams go and work with local entrepreneurs to think about how these local entrepreneurs can engage with their communities. And again, stepping outside their comfort zone, really being able to see things from other people's perspectives really helps these teams to think about ways in which they can come together and work empathetically with one another, even in incredibly diverse environments.
Right. Well, I'd like to extend the metaphor describing Harrison having climbed the highest place on Earth, but also the Dead Sea and the lowest place on Earth. Catherine, in terms of how we learn, there's that Hollywood narrative and the music gets a bit gloomy halfway through the movie, but then things pick up at the end. In terms of the MBA journey, those lows, if that's the right way to describe them, are just as impactful in terms of what emerges, the resilience and the ability to then work through these challenges.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, literally just today, I was talking to my MBA students about a Japanese concept called kintsugi. And the idea is that things that have been broken and repaired are more beautiful than things that were never broken in the first place. And I think that's a really powerful thing for us to think about, not only in the MBA classroom, but also throughout our lives, both personally and professionally. Because one of the things that MBAs and many of the rest of us often, the traps that we often fall into are one of perfectionism. So we want to be perfect all the time. We want to seem perfect all the time. And oftentimes those lows in the MBA program are driven by the fact that we feel as though we're not able to get the most out of things. We're suffering from FOMO, or we're not able to live up to what we want to be in the classroom. And actually, that is one of the key learning experiences, how we get through that and how we help others through those lows is one of the things that will ultimately help us to be leaders, not only in good times, but also when things are really challenging. And I think the ways in which leaders stepped up during COVID, when we were facing a global challenge, the likes of which we have never, and I hope will never see again, at least not in our lifetimes, we saw true leadership. And we also saw some companies and some leaders stumble a bit. And I think that that's one of the great learning experiences that we can see. And as we're bringing bring people back into the classrooms to reflect on what they learned, what their countries and what their companies learned during COVID. These are some of the very reflective moments, which are incredibly powerful, especially incredibly powerful to share as a group in an MBA classroom.
Well, I encourage all of our viewers to type in broken Japanese ceramics, and you'll visually see what Catherine is describing. Harrison, perhaps this is a good time to bring in your classmates. You know, we talk about an incredibly supportive, cohesive group. Is that something that you observed, not just for those celebratory moments, but when you had that really tough accounting exam or, you know, moments of self-doubt, did they really step up at that point?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that was one of the major values of a small MBA program, like I know Schiller has, as well as Goizueta. You really are a family and celebrate the highs and also come together and support each other during the lows. And it's not only the really challenging accounting class or finals during the second wave of core curriculum, but also recognizing the life outside of business school. And when there's an event that really impacts people's home lives, really saw the sense of community come together and support each other, you know, recognizing and celebrating the diversity of our class and seeing everyone support our communities was really a powerful and valuable part of the program.
Now, it plays such an important part. You describe it as being very powerful, and we encourage our viewers at Centre Court to connect with students, with alums as they're doing their research. Was it something that you were already able to identify? You clearly experienced it once in the program, but was it something that you'd already picked up before applying to Goizueta?
Oh, absolutely. And really, I ultimately chose Goizueta after going to our accepted students weekend. I guess the year before. And what I saw at the accepted students weekend was just, you could see the connection from the panelists and you know, you could tell that classmate knew classmate and really had that strong sense of community. Whereas I'd spoken to some friends who went to bigger programs and they didn't even know half their class. They just kind of found their little pocket and pod. And so, you know, that really separated Goizueta for me when I was in the application process.
And I'm sure, Paige, that Scheller community at Georgia Tech continues to give. You'd mentioned earlier this relationship between the business school, Georgia Tech, and as we think of that convergence of business and technology, one of we often talk about the soft skills that go hand in hand with business. And in fact, when we think about, someone was describing that things like storytelling, communication, which are where they're in the right side of our brain versus all of the logic and the analytics in the left side of our brain. How does Georgia Tech bring those two together to understand the numbers, but also perhaps tell the stories that lie behind the numbers?
Yeah, I think something that you hear pretty often throughout the program is this need of, you know, post MBA, the role you will play as kind of the translator of the more technical side, being able to speak that language, but then know how to translate it for a business audience, a leadership C-suite audience. And so I think in all of the coursework at Scheller, there's this underlying foundation of the technical skills, whether it's a data and analytics course, the finance, accounting courses, but then always tying it back to, okay, now let's translate this to a real world example. Let's translate this to what this might look like in your role post MBA. And I think having that constant refrain of learning these technical skills, but then knowing how to present it back to someone and be able to define the so what of anything that we're doing is a skill set that will serve anybody well. And I'm appreciative that Scheller had that throughout all of their courses. And I think, you know, then putting us in these teams throughout the courses of people with such diverse backgrounds. The professor that puts us in our teams has a data and analytics background. He's got this whole algorithm. You fill out this massive survey and he determines the optimal teams based on what the data tells him our skill sets are. So you've got your person that maybe has, you know, the more business familiarity, pre-MBA, the technical background, the data and analytics background to all come together to kind of pull on each other's strengths, which I think just goes back to what we were talking about earlier of then getting more confidence and learning the strengths that you bring to a particular team, which can serve you so well post-MBA.
Right. And then you tell me that the professor looks just like Brad Pitt in Moneyball, and the picture is complete. But I suppose also staying with this theme of a network that is so powerful, and interviewing technique. Now that's where the career services team presumably is also then heavily involved. Was that something that proved to be of great value to you?
Yes. And, thinking of that whole application process and similar to Harrison talking about that welcome event for admitted students, to me, what stood out at Scheller was the presence of career services. Because the reason you're going back, the reason you're really taking this risk of going to get your MBA, stepping out of the corporate world is to make a career change or career acceleration. So to see the career services team from day one at Scheller being involved, introducing themselves, being engaged in all of the networking opportunities to really make it clear that they were going to partner with you and help you land your dream job post MBA. So cannot say enough good things about the career services team at Scheller. And then that broader network, the alumni from the program as well, I found to be just as valuable of a resource in terms of helping you understand, okay, the job posting is saying this, but here's what I really do in this role day to day. Here's what the interview process was really like. Here's how you really can stand out from other candidates. I was always impressed with how willing our alums were willing to pitch in and help prepare us and answer questions for anything, we were facing the interview process or making that decision of what offer to accept.
Right. Catherine, there's a business school in Boston that you know very well. Just a few years ago introduced a field immersion program, and it was the idea of going beyond Boston to get that boots on the ground experience. Now, from what you're describing from, a wonderful downtown campus, this view of Table Mountain, the importance of the campus in the townships. How does the MBA help you to gain this wider worldview and perhaps just a global awareness?
So I like to say that the joke that I like to tell people is that doing business in Africa is like playing video games on hard mode. You're doing the same things, you're making the same decisions that people in New York or Boston or London or Georgia are making, but you're having to be smarter and faster and more agile because the environment here is just more complicated. So in fact, I want to push the idea of soft skills a little bit further, because I think that for years, we've been first we were talking about hard skills, and then we were talking about soft skills in terms of leadership. I want to push forward the idea of soft skills to seeing things that other people don't see. Seeing opportunities that other people don't see, seeing challenges on the horizon that other people don't see. And again, the more complex the environment in which you're working, the more issues that you're seeing on an everyday basis, including things like sustainability challenges, which we have in spades in Africa, which of course is on the front line of climate change. When you think about the role of capitalism in the way in which the world works, and how business can come in and make the world better, and the ways in which we need to navigate these increasingly complicated areas, that is a critically important question, not just in Africa, but also in Africa. The reason why I'm so excited about Africa is really Africa's the future. So Africa is it's the youngest continent in the world. So I like to tell my MBA students that for the rest of our lives, all of the other regions of the world are going to age and shrink. And so I'm in Africa, and I think Africa is so exciting because it gives you this new perspective into the future and an ability to get boots on the ground in a very complex environment where either you can go forward into Africa and understand what I really think is the next big market, or you can go back to London or New York or Boston or Thailand and have this new understanding of the way in which things work in this complex environment so that you can understand incredibly complex environments. And I think we can all agree that the world's only becoming more complex. So understanding things here allow you to see things that no one else can see elsewhere.
Right. And without it being a reductive term, Harrison, when we talk about a global village, you emphasized earlier your tribe, your Goizetter family, and the size of the program that meant that you had so much more interaction. Did you then feel in the classroom, beyond discounted cash flow, that the voices that would look at China's One Belt, One Road strategy and impacting commodity prices in Africa that would affect the consumer in Atlanta, was that sort of eye-opening for you?
Oh, absolutely. And it came out in the classrooms and the group projects we worked on, and classmates who have done business around the world. And then also we had a program called Mid-Semester Modules that have since been rebranded to GEMS, Global, I forget what it was, but it was basically an international experience to see business abroad, and had the opportunity to go to Argentina and Abu Dhabi and Dubai to see business in those areas and the different challenges that they face. And, seeing what our classmates had experienced when talking about group projects, but then also going and visiting these companies and taking coursework internationally, really had both the learned experience from our classmates as well as experiential experience being in the room and in the offices abroad.
Right. Paige, you're, whether you're aware of it or not, a role model for future generations. Thinking about business school, they would look to you and the success that you've enjoyed. It may not have been immediately apparent, but increasingly so. As you reflect on the investment that you made in yourself, the experience that you then had, how do you, when somebody says, so, business school, I'm not sure if it's for me, the MBA, how do you like them to sort of think around that and what it might bring?
Mm-hmm. I often get that question actually from colleagues at Accenture who are maybe just a few years out of undergrad and are thinking, maybe I should go back and get my MBA, and want advice on whether or not I think it's the right decision. I think first and foremost, it's important to reflect on what you want to get out of the MBA. Are you looking to make a big career change? Are you looking to accelerate your current career? Are you looking to just broaden your business knowledge base? What are you really trying to get out of the MBA? And then I think that can help to determine, what program is the right fit for you. And then I think it's also, I'm always very I tend to lean more pro MBA if people are on the fence, because I think the network that you build through an MBA program will serve you for the rest of your career. And while 2 years for most full-time MBAs being a 2-year program may seem like a long commitment in the span of your 30+ year career, it's really a blip on the radar. And the return you see, the value you see out of that 2-year investment pays back in spades. So I'm always very encouraging of people, but I think it is important to just reflect on, what do I want to get out of it? What skills, what types of people do I want to be working alongside in the program to help navigate, what program might be the best fit for you.
And whether at Accenture with more junior or more broadly, but they say, yeah, but Paige, it's a strong job market, or even what I'm earning coming out of undergrad, and I look at the opportunity cost. Is there a right time to go to business school, or is it that whatever time you choose, it will have that payback in the years, the decades that follow?
I don't know if there's ever really a right time. I find most people that are coming to me are around that maybe 3 to 7 year post undergrad mark in their career, where they've gotten a little bit of experience under their belt. They feel like maybe now they have a better idea of what they want to do for the rest of their career versus straight out of undergrad, and they can leverage that. But then I had plenty of classmates who had, 10 to 15 years of experience before coming back and getting their MBA. And they, I feel like, just got just as much value out of the program and made career changes or went back to their prior employer in a different position and have seen great success. So I think, again, that 2 years, no matter really where it falls, I think people can still see tremendous value from it.
Right. We use the word transformational, Catherine, a lot as we look at the MBA experience. So again, perhaps when potential candidates approach you, they're not sure about business school, how do you like to advise them and things that you'd encourage them to think about to make the right choice for themselves?
I think, and we've heard a little bit about this. I think it really is what you're looking for. And it's about how long you're looking to do an MBA for. So for example, we've heard a lot about the 2-year programs, which are quite common in the US. Our program is actually a 1-year program. And one of the things that we find both with our program and some of the other 1-year programs around the world is it is well tailored for people who perhaps don't want to take the 2 years off. On the other hand, the 2-year programs that we've been hearing about, if you want to take a longer period and spend more time in the MBA, then that works for you. So it really is about what you're looking to do. It's about how much you're willing to pay as well. Obviously, the less money you pay to go to business school, and I mean, I know that we don't like talking about money, and I know that one of the things that we like to focus on is how much we can accelerate what we're doing, but especially if you want to have the flexibility that not going into a lot of debt gets you, or if you're looking for a lot of value for money, really focusing on what you are going to have to pay in order to attend a program is important. And that also goes, of course, with the opportunity costs, the time that is involved. The last thing, I just wanted to echo something that Harrison said. I think a lot of people don't take full advantage of the opportunities that most MBA programs offer to either go on trips or in some cases do entire terms at other schools. So for example, for us, our MBA students can do up to an entire term at another school at about 60 schools around the world. And I know that broadly speaking, I'm sure that at Emory and Georgia Tech, there are also these opportunities, not just to take short trips, but also to take long trips. And so I'd really encourage people, if you're looking to broaden your horizons, if you're looking to get a little taste of another school, of another country, of other things, then doing that kind of study abroad within the MBA is actually a really nice way to get the most out of your degree.
Right. Well, you said, we don't like to talk about money. I'm British. I'll have a coughing fit if we start talking about, but we do need to talk about the ROI. Harrison, I think that at some point, this word impact that you heard, in every direction, didn't you keep a tally of the number of times you'd hear it being used in a class? So when you look at it with your words, with your frames of reference, going beyond perhaps a dollar ROI, beyond this word impact, my final question to you, when you think back on the MBA experience that you have, what are the ideas that immediately come into your mind that have left their mark?
Yeah, I think, and I'll even use the word impact again, even though I made fun of everyone who used it in recruiting events. But, I did find my passion and my cause in business school. And yeah, the financial ROI definitely was there, but really being able to drive change within sustainability and build a personal brand around sustainability that I've then been able to bring to EY Parthenon and lead a lot of our efforts in sustainable business strategy. I'm doing what I love now, and that wouldn't have happened without business school. So I think both the tangible and intangible ROI is absolutely there.
Right there, that phrase, I'm doing what I love now, and it wouldn't have happened without business school. I think if to be able to capture that for our audience, I mean, all three of you. So Paige, I'm going to ask you to reflect if there was one particularly memorable moment, one unexpected moment, some hallmark of your time at business school. What's the first thing that comes into your mind?
We had the opportunity, our first year course, to do what they call a strategy practicum, where it's really a course where you essentially do a strategy consulting engagement. We had the opportunity to partner with E&J Gallo Winery, and you think, okay, I'm just doing this MBA project. This is really just the company's doing this as a favor to, someone they know at the program. And we actually, when we presented our final strategy back to the class and to our project sponsors, they were so impressed with what we put together that they actually flew us out to San Francisco to present on site to their team, who really was tackling the question that they had pitched to us as our strategy practicum problem to solve. And I think for me, that was really an aha moment of, wow, these skills I'm learning and what my team was able to put together, isn't just in this vacuum of a classroom, but it's actually potentially having impact on a corporation. I could really see myself doing this full time post MBA. And for me, I think that experience really was a light bulb moment of the art of the possible post Scheller.
All right. And I guess, whenever you reach for that bottle of Gallo wine, it takes you right back to that trip. Catherine, I think you've spoken with such passion and conviction and thoughtfulness around, the potential, the future for Africa. So if you were to sort of sum up for viewers, the investment that they're now looking to make in themselves, what is one thing that you would want them to discover through this session today about the University of Cape Town and the potential it has to offer?
I think at the University of Cape Town, really what we're doing is we're driving the future of business. And the future of business, as far as I'm concerned, the future of business is emerging markets, it's complex environments. I love Africa, but even outside the African continent, the things that we learn here transform the world. And I think that as we are going forward and each individually looking not only for a transformative experience for ourselves, not only looking to transform our careers, but also looking to spend our lives in a way, as we've been hearing from Harrison and Paige, that makes us love what we do, but also makes us feel as though we're making a difference in the world. I think that's the most important thing. And I'm so proud to be a part of a business school and a university, which is really driving toward that and has alumni all over the world who are doing amazing things and, quite frankly, doing quite well by doing good. And I think that's what we're really all searching for, is a way to make that change while still creating the lives and the careers for ourselves that we want for ourselves. And it's that sort of integration of those two things that's so powerful, and that I hope for all MBAs wherever they end up.
Right. Well, I had set the bar high. At the beginning of the session, I talked about the convening power of business schools, but also Centre Court to bring together remarkable individuals, to capture their voices. And I think that bar, you just raised it, all three of you, with what you've shared. I think, the authenticity, the simplicity of the experience, the impact that it's had on you, and how that will build a better world, happier lives. That's a lot in 45 minutes. So thank you. Thank you, Harrison. Thank you, Paige. And thank you, Catherine, for joining us at Centre Court, sharing your perspectives. It was enormously valuable. Truly grateful.